Best of Scenes musical PAWNS. Background. Musical PAWNS is based on a true story of the life of a forgotten master, Ukrainian Jewish composer David Nowakowski, 1848 to 1921, and that of his descendants, granddaughter Sofie Seltzman, a famous concert pianist, who, with her husband Boris and infant son Alexandre, have fled from their home in Berlin to France to escape the Nazis. The story traces the odyssey of Nowakowski's unpublished manuscripts, in which the same way that the story of the Red Violin was told, through flashbacks from the present. The present being preparations for a gala concert where the lost manuscripts are finally to be performed by a full-scale symphony. Until now, these lost musical masterpieces have been in continuous danger of being destroyed for over 100 years. Cologne-sur-Sélève, 1939, Seltzman's parlor, interior day. Sofie is seated at a small table in the living room opening a letter. Alexandre runs in with a rubber ball on his way out the door to play, when he sees a photograph that has fallen from the letter onto the floor. He picks it up and goes over to his mother, who is reading the letter.
What's that, Mama?
It's a letter that Grandma Rosa sent from Odessa.
No, Mama, this.
That's a picture of the stone marking the grave of your great-grandfather, David Nowakowski.
It's very tall. What happened to him, Mama?
After the revolution, there wasn't enough to eat. Grandpa David got sick, and he died.
Oh.
Odessa, the Jewish cemetery. 1935, exterior day. As we view the photo of the cemetery, the picture comes to life. Workers pull down Nowakowski's tombstone with ropes and smash it to bits with sledgehammers. Or we could do this in mime or in silhouette.
What does it say, Mama?
The broken stones are thrown into a wheelbarrow and wheeled away. Part of the inscription is thrown into a pothole in the roadway and tamped down with some smaller stones to repair the road.
It says there are many stars in the heavens, but none shone so greatly.
Cologne-sur-Sélève, interior day. Sofie kisses Alexandre, who hops off her lap and runs to play outside with his ball. Still stunned, Sofie follows him with her eyes. The devastating events of the day and the horrible news in the letter have left her without the ability to express any emotion. When she is sure that she's completely alone, she quotes more poetry to Bialik, quietly, carefully, lest she give herself away or succumb to emotion.
I know on a foggy night, like a star I'll fade, and no star shall know my burial place. Star to star will whisper, see the horrible lie. Look at the awful grief. Oh, if only your grief too were kept alive, in the world's wide heart, infusing it with life, so that the sky and the earth, the stars and grass, would drink its pain. For when, at the end of time, the sun will shine its righteous deceit over the heads of your slain, then the God of vengeance, with injured heart, will rise and roar, and storm out with his sword.
Sofie's tears fall on the letter, whose ink begins to run. She wipes her eyes, folds the letter and the photograph back into its envelope, and puts it away into the drawer of a bureau desk. Concert hall, Toronto Symphony Choir, the present, interior, evening. The concert is in progress. There is a tense moment of silence as the audience, conductor, and the choir eye each other, breath held still, preparing themselves for the moment when he gives the downbeat for the beginning of the piece. Choir, orchestra, or keyboard, and baritone or tenor singing. Eulogy, songs for a mourner's service by Max Helfman. Transcontinental Music Publishers, New York, published posthumously after Max Helfman's death. When I am dead, thus shall you mourn me. There was a man, and see, he is no more. Before his time had come, did this man die, and his life's song was hushed before it ended. And woe, yet one more song he had within him. And lost forever is that song unsung, forever lost, forever lost. Bialik was proclaimed Poet Laureate of Palestine after escaping Bolshevik Russia. His inflammatory poetry galvanized the Zionist movement. Nowakowski's tombstone was inscribed with a quote from Bialik's eulogy. We have a photo of the grave taken before it was destroyed. Nowakowski and Bialik were best friends and both cultural leaders of the Zionist movement. The memorial stone obelisk was destroyed sometime in the 1930s when Odessa's second Jewish cemetery was destroyed during Stalin's brutal regime. There are no longer any records in existence that can identify Nowakowski's final resting place. Whether the stone was reused for pavement or not is pure conjecture, but refers to other such abuses that actually occurred both in Soviet Russia and in Nazi-controlled territories. The Curse. Interior Day. Brody Synagogue, Odessa, 1903. Blumenthal lies in his coffin in full cantorial robes, bright red flowers held in his crossed hands. Mourners are entering the synagogue while the organ and violin play a mournful dirge. Two congregants converse while awaiting the service to begin. The scene is conducted in commedia dell'arte style. Although the two Nudnik congregants sometimes shout and exclaim loudly, none of the other mourners hear or notice them, or, for that matter, notice the ghost whose wild dancing conjures up the evil imprecation.
It's a shanda.
What do you mean?
Boy, remember how Blumenthal hated Nowakowski's music?
So?
It's a miracle Blumenthal isn't spinning in his coffin this very moment. That's Nowakowski's music they're playing.
Congregant 2 still doesn't get it and begins reading the prayers out, but is stopped by Congregant 1 who grabs his arm.
Wait, there's something else. Oi, oi, the words!
Blumenthal's eyes open up. His head rises from the coffin as he listens to the two Nudniks talking.
Words? What words? It's a violin solo. There aren't any words.
No, that tune has words. It's that rascal Nowakowski getting back at Blumenthal for all those years when Blumenthal wouldn't play any of his music.
By this time, Blumenthal's ghost is eavesdropping directly behind the two Nudniks and has his head right between their heads so that they have to speak right through him. Congregant 1 takes a prayer book and begins flipping through the pages.
There it is. Have a look for yourself.
Blumenthal grabs his own prayer book and is horrified by what he sees.
I admit before thee, O Lord, my shortcomings. To tell them completely is impossible. What am I? And what is my life that entitles me to ask thy pardon? I am vanity and emptiness, dust and ashes, embarrassed by my sins and distraught by my transgressions. I have no excuse to plead before thee, for my sins are too great to be forgiven, too numerous to be told.
You mean everyone who hears that music will automatically remember the words of that prayer? How embarrassing!
How embarrassing!
I wouldn't be surprised if the soul of Blumenthal puts a curse on Nowakowski's music for all eternity.
Yes, a curse!
Yes, a curse!
Blumenthal's ghost fiendishly mimics their words and begins to dance to the music, which has burst into a wild Hasidic klezmer dance. He whirls and leaps to the music and finally ends his evil imprecation as his 92-year-old body becomes winded and he staggers back to the coffin, totally exhausted. The music returns to the slow dirge.
No, if I were Blumenthal, I would not rest until there was a curse on Nowakowski's music for a millennia.
Well, for all eternity.
Blumenthal indicates a lower figure.
1,000 years.
Blumenthal again points to a lower amount of time.
100 years.
Blumenthal weighs the pronouncement and singles his assent as he lies back down in the coffin, yawning.
If I were Blumenthal, I wouldn't sleep until there was a curse on Nowakowski's music that lasted for 100 years.
A loud snore is heard from the coffin.
Yes, there will be a curse on Nowakowski's music that will last 100 years.
100 years!
The music for movement 6 of the Atonement Oratorio, Supplication Prayer, comes up as the scene shifts to the contemporary concert containing the words that so upset Blumenthal's ghost.